Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Siblings in Design, a monthly look at all things design, decluttering, architectural, you name it, they do it. Our guests, as always, Ocheju and Okechukwu are in the studio. I'm going to ask them to each tell them a little bit about themselves in their own words. Ocheju, let's start with you. Ordinarily, I get to introduce you, but I'm thinking, you know what? You do such a good job of it. Tell everyone about yourself.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to 2022. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some people for the first time. Paul and I have just said a Happy New Year's on the 23rd.
Yeah, you took me by surprise with that one. I thought, are we still doing that? I suppose we are.
We're still doing it. We're still doing it.
I don't know what the Nigerian rule here. But the English rule is if you haven't seen someone in that year, you can still say it. But
you say it. You still say it. Yeah. So yes, I'm a holistic space manager, and that just means that I use the principles of design to help people get anchored in their space, designing for home and office, wherever people, live or work or play. We'll come in there, we'll use the principles of design, and we'll give a holistic view to make sure. Holistic just means that you are the one who's being anchored and the space serves you, not the other way around. So that's what I do as the Wellbeing Cognoscente.
Wonderful stuff. Thanks for that. And Junior, I know you're having some technical issues before. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
And I can hear you loud and clear. Tell us all about yourself.
Happy New Year, Paul.
And Happy New Year to you. I'm getting it now.
Yes, I think it's the same thing. In UK and Nigeria. If I saw you in April or May of this year, I'll still say Happy New Year. For the first time.
I will keep it in mind. For 2023, we've done it now. It's fine. But...
Yeah. So I like to describe myself as an architectural enthusiast, even if I studied architecture. A builder, master builder, project manager, and general problem solver. So basically, I love design and anything that requires a better solution in space design, in construction, in architecture, in computers, in automobiles, in aeronautics, whatever it is, in law, if you ask me, anything that requires a design, I'm your man, basically.
Fantastic. Well, now, obviously, a lot of people might be thinking, hold on one second, isn't this show normally on an hour later? Ordinarily, yes. But apparently we are tonight competing with any fans of Nigeria or Tunisia's national football squad, or frankly, anyone who's got nothing else to do on a Sunday night, so they might as well watch the football. So we are aware that it is the Africa Cup of Nations, and Ocheju, you were telling me that your audience is divided. Some of them giving their loyalties to you, some of them to the football, which realistically, they could have stuck with us for the first 55 minutes or so. I really don't know what the problem is, but we could have finished early. It's fine. But if you have pledged your loyalties to us, or indeed you're watching this on catch up, do please put your comments. We'd love to talk to you, but if you are watching us live, then please do pop your comments on so we can answer your questions. As once again, we're going to be talking about decluttering today. And clearly he's gone to watch the football. You see, I gave him too much information.
Not sure what's going on there.
And away he goes. He's not without technical glitches. I can see also we've got someone else in our green room. Are you expecting a special guest today?
Not that I know of.
Okay, well, there's
perhaps.
Yetunde. I can see you're sitting in our green room there. I just don't really know why, because we're not scheduled to have a special guest on today. But
I think perhaps the link has gone out, and so she might. Yetunde, if you can hear us, perhaps you want to watch on the YouTube. Link.
The thing is, though, if she's in the green room, she probably can't hear us. Do you think we should just invite her in for a minute so you can actually tell her? What do you think?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? It's a friendly show.
I'll just send a message.
Are you sending a message? How is that where you went?
I think I must have sent out the link.
The link instead of the YouTube.
Yes. So
brilliant. So we're going to get a whole bunch of people showing up in the green room tonight. Come and crash this party, folks. You're more than welcome. Please bring your own drink.
Just bring your questions with you.
Social distancing, I think we're doing it very well. Juniors in another country. I mean, you can't do more socially distanced than that. So tonight, once again, we continue the conversation about declutter. I know that's what we wanted to focus on. Last month's show, people learned so much about this and the value, not just in terms of freeing up one's mental space, but also the fact that it's a serious money saver, that so many people committed to extending their homes, buying new homes, don't need to do that. They just need to get rid of the rubbish so they can actually discover that where they're already living probably serves them so much better than even they think. So picking up on so many different areas there, Ucheju, where would you like to start with this?
I think, you know, we when we talked about it the last time, we were actually considering, you know, what's good clutter and what is bad clutter, because not every clutter is bad. Mm-hmm. But then again, the way things are organized in a home will determine whether they appear to be clutter. Because sometimes when you find you're moving out of a home and the place has been well managed, the space has been organized properly, until you fill in the trucks, you don't realize how much stuff is there. Mm-hmm. But because the things were properly arranged and they were in use, meaning that they were useful, even if they were decorative things, they were actually placed in ways that they became useful for the occupants of the house. It doesn't look like clutter, and it's not clutter because it's in use. It's serving the purpose of either a functional purpose or an aesthetic purpose, and it's not jumbled up, you know, in plain sight where people walk in and you just see somebody who wanted to center themselves, for instance, and has gone to Egypt. I'm just going to use that as an example. I've traveled to Egypt and I've always wanted to see all these, you know, their local craftsmanship and stuff. And then I've bought a pyramid or something, and then I put it in the center like a mantelpiece or something in the house. That gives off a feel. It makes me center back to that nice space when I travel. It always brings something back for me, the occupant of the house. And the visitor who comes in, it's a conversation starter. It's, you know, it's something that depicts a place that someone has been. Now, if I went in and I bought the pyramid in every shape and size that they had, because I loved it and I want to remember the space, and I fill up the whole mantelpiece and places, bookcases, everywhere you look, first off, your cleaners will hate you, because now they're going to have to lift things up every 2 seconds to wipe. And then if you're like me and you get, you know, hay fever from dust, you will be sneezing every day, every second, every minute you come out of your room, you're sneezing, because then it just piles in the clutter. You know what clutter does? It keeps dust, it keeps things at bay. You don't get to see them because stuff is covering stuff. Mm-hmm. But when you have clear spaces and you have things that have been designed in a way or positioned in a way that you can access the back, you can reach the corners, then it makes it easier. Your house is fresh, but it still has some things that look like it might be clutter. When you fill in your U-Haul, then you know, oh my God, we've got stuff. I mean, my own experience moving from a 3-bedroom flat to a 4-bedroom house, I had to give away stuff. And that's when I realized, like, okay, just because you know how to organize things and store them properly and everything has its use, you never know when you've piled on so much. And that's why you must always have an inventory. Just keep going through them. What haven't I touched in years? What haven't I? There's someone who will be blessed by that, you know, piece of furniture or whatever it is that has been filling up a space, and then you can get some air into the house. Mm-hmm. So
So when you talk about when you spoke about good clutter and bad clutter, I suppose what you're talking about there in between is something that's really not clutter at all. That single pyramid.
Yes.
So that's not clutter. That's a nice memory there. So what is the definition of good clutter?
So, do you want to say something, Junior?
No, carry on.
So for me, when you talk about to define good clutter, right? Like we said, like I was talking about before, when you have things that are functional, even though there's a lot of a lot of those things, but they are in use in the home and everybody needs them. So let me give you like a clear example: a house with kids. You're never going to ever not see boxes with toys. That is good clutter.
Right. Okay.
You're going to the kids need the toys to keep themselves engaged. So now, as a parent, you can determine, am I going to let them have 7 different figurines of Tom and Jerry? Or can I buy the ones that look like Tom and Jerry that can help them count as well as read their ABCs or whatever? You get educational toys, you get stuff, but ensure that you place them in a way that they can put them away when they're not in use, and then have a space where children play. I used to have a wall in my house, so all the kids love to come to my house. By going to Auntie Uche's house, because I have a wall for them to write on. I know that children want to write on things. They want to write on the furniture. They're inquisitive, and you don't want to stifle their creativity in that way. So I create their own space where they can make a mess, do whatever you want. And my furniture was safe. You don't find scratches on my white chair or anybody jumping on it to play there, So when you create the space for something to happen, even if it's a lot of it there, you have, compartments where everything goes. It makes the clutter hide. But it's not clutter that is useless. It's not pans and pots and plates that you're keeping to see if maybe when your daughter is old enough and gets married, you can gift it to them to use. It's not stuff for the future. It's not things that you've not touched in years. These are things that are in use. There might be a lot of them. But then that depends on how many people are in the house. If it's a house with kids, you expect to see some clutter in certain areas. But then how it appears in the house is determined fully by how you organize the house.
Makes complete sense.
True.
Go on, Junior, what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, well, I wanted to hear Uche out, and I think she's actually touched on the most important things. Like we said the last show, this is one subject or one topic that would continue that we'll continue to address, because at the end of the day, clutter has to be defined by the person using the space. I may walk into a space and think that it's untidy or you've got some decluttering to do, but the person who walks in that space may not necessarily be a gatherer or a hoarder or a hoarder, but needs all of those things a particular way for the person to function. So what it is like we agreed the last time we spoke, things have to be placed a particular way so that it's not offensive to both the user and the onlooker. There has to be a balance struck at some point. And even color can be clutter. Yeah, even items can be clutter. Your furniture can be clutter. Your clothes can be clutter. If you have a 4-wall room with a pink wall on one side, an orange wall on the other side, a black wall on the other side, it doesn't matter what you do the space. Even if your carpets are white, that's an extra color. So the entire thing looks cluttered, even if you have no furniture at all.
Yeah.
If your mind is cluttered, then it doesn't matter if you are in an empty room. You wouldn't achieve anything. Your entire workspace, your schedules are cluttered, your deliverables are cluttered, everything is cluttered. So I believe that your decluttering starts from the mind.
Yep.
Up there in the head, you want to work with a routine, clear your head as much as possible. I use that phrase a lot, clear your head. and stop being noise in the head, because a lot of times you're overthinking stuff, you're doing too many things at the same time. Some people call it multitasking, but there's a thin line between multitasking and doing too many things at the same time. If you multitask and you get the desired result, then you're multitasking.
Yeah.
But if you do all those things together and you're failing at each one, then you're doing too much at the same time. There's a thin line. There's a thin line. So at the end of the day, if we bring it back to design, special design, furniture, interior design, and all of that, if you have too much going on at the same time, a confluence of styles, a cacophony of styles, for instance, where my couch is Jacobean, my dining set is probably contemporary, and I buy a Le Corbusier 3-seater, and I decide to put, some funny fan with lamps on it, and I have a door chime somewhere as well, then it's an absolute outrage, So I believe that's basically what we need to address and help people understand. Pick your style, give yourself some wiggle room. Your elbows mustn't hit anything in the house or run into anything in the house. Your little toe should be protected from some funny stools hanging around the place. And you should be able to have your kids in the house and your dogs and your pets walk around without knocking down any pots and pans, just because you put so many things in the house.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Before we go on, Parish Hoffman, stop it. Okay, I can see what he's done. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. I'll put this on. Does this come up on screen? Yeah. Just decide what you're watching, Parish. Okay, you can't have the football and us on and report between one and the other. Okay, so okay. You know what's going to happen is when there's a score now, it's just going to come up on the bottom of the screen here. We're just going to be in two places at once right now. Why not? But thank you, Parish, for the information there, and stay tuned and keep us posted. I want to come back to the point you're making there about how even an empty room can be cluttered by virtue of having different coloured walls. And Uche, I'm going to throw this one to you first and foremost. As a designer, I want to put myself in the shoes of someone that's just bought the property and I have no clue. I don't know what I want to do. I've seen some bits of furniture I quite like. I quite like the colour of that wall, or more importantly, I've walked into this room with 3 different colours of wall and a featured thing on the other, and I thought, oh, I quite like that. Now, obviously, in your mind, you're thinking, for the love of God, no. But I'm paying for your service as a client. Do you draw a line here? Do you say, listen, Paul, with the greatest of respect, this is horrible? Or do you find a way to work with the pre-existing clutter as the starting point and then try and calm everything down around it? What's the best way forward for someone like me who is clueless?
So very, very, very good analogy, Paul. That's actually perfect. It's something that we're working through. We've worked through, and I'm about to start dealing with as well this year with a new client. So that's why what I do is holistic. There's a reason why someone would walk into a room with 4 different colors and love it. What's going on in their head? What's happening with you? And why do you think you like it? So my first step would be to understand where the client is coming from. What is informing that choice? Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't go wearing, although some people do it these days. I mean, I've seen it. It's fashionable now to have different color prints on you, on your person, so there are various reasons.
I can't carry it off, but I get that some people do.
There are various reasons. I mean, I've seen someone out with the flashing pink hat and different, but I mean, it's all to personal interpretation. And as a designer, I'm not the one going to live in this space. You will always have to bear that in mind. And you're there as a guide. And the guide, being a holistic guide, you first have to get to the bottom of what is informing the person's choices so that you can help them function. If you try and influence their style and tell them that, no, you know what, you need a lighter color, no, you need a darker, no, you need this, when you're gone, they're not going to be able to be anchored in that space. So it's important to pull on everything that they're seeing in their mind's eye, and then create a design for them that would resonate. So what is the main thing that you like about this room, Paul, would be my first question. Why do you think you like it that way? Okay, can we consider A, B, C? How about we turn around and go, let's go to another room. And by the time I walk around the house with you, I would have picked up on the nuances. The reasons that room stood out for you would be clearer to me. And then I would be able to sit with you and draw up a plan for the rest of the house. If you're not living alone, for instance, there will be a wife, there would be kids. Are they going to feel the same way about that room as you do? So at the point of going into a consultation with a client, you need to put the blinders on and take off whatever it is you think you know about anything, because I'm not the one living in it. You're the one who needs my assistance and my help. If you didn't, you wouldn't have come to me in the first place. So if you knew what to do, you'd have done it. But the fact that you're talking to me means you don't know what to do. But no matter what, you're the one going to live there, and you have ideas. You have your own creative style. Whether you think it is, you might not be an interior designer, but you design your own life. So my job is to help you pull out those things that you think you like or don't like, apply them with the principles of design, find you an era or a style that resonates with what I'm hearing you, the feedback that I'm getting from you, and then put those on a 3D, do a walkthrough with you. You'd actually feel like you're walking inside the space. So you can kind of have a virtual experience of what that room is going to look like before you do it. And that way you can play with the colors, play with the pieces, play with all sorts of things. You have a fair, a fighting chance of getting it right the first time when you go through those processes. But the most important is ensuring that you understand what the person is thinking and what they're feeling and what is governing them at the time. And if you make a decision in a dark place, it might be difficult for you to change that decision later on. It's financially draining to start putting things, and then the time, and then you have other people in the house who are not going to feel anchored with you. So basically it's to ensure that you know what the person is about, what it is that informs their choices, and then walk back into a design with them from there. That's how I would handle it.
Right. I mean, absolutely. It starts with the person, as you often said. Speaking about pieces, and Jeannie, I'll come back to you on this one. You spoke about different furniture from different periods and places. Now, throwing it all together would just be, well, frankly, you'd want to bleach your eyes if you saw it. But of course, there are some people out there who enjoy an eclectic style. What's your take on that approach? Some people love eclecticism. Some people think it's an indication of a messy mind. So where do you stand on something like that?
Well, eclectic would be defining it as being free-spirited, unusual, not the normal thing, bold. In architecture, it's called deconstructivism or brutalist. Bold. You don't mind having an all white space and stick a red chair right in the center. you know, and then have ornaments, all over the place. There's nothing wrong with being eclectic.
Mhm.
Now,
From a design perspective, though, but what about when it
yes,
comes for furniture and colours? But what about when it comes to architecture? What if someone is influenced by two very opposing styles, which would not only look a bit odd, but would actually be really quite difficult to do from an engineering perspective? What do you then say to someone who's coming to you from that angle, which I appreciate is quite difficult to work with? So, what do you do?
so the thing is, the way design has developed over the years has gone from era to era, and now no era was totally left out. It was an evolution. So nothing, for instance, the basic concept of a chair. You have the seat, you have the legs, you have the backrest, and the arms. If you're looking at an armchair, every other chair is designed with this concept. So we want to look at it. Are we having the backrest that's got upholstery the same like we have the seat, and we have wooden legs or metal legs? Doesn't matter. They all have the same concept. Now, going forward, if you're looking at two different styles, I am influenced by two different architects, um, Le Corbusier and Frank Lloyd Wright. Now, I add a third one, Richard Meier. I can add Kenzo Tange. Now, they all have different styles, but I pick out the elements from each style that complements the other. So Le Corb was probably straight lines, clean lines, square, Nordic style buildings. Frank Lloyd Wright was all about nature, and organic architecture, meaning that no, the natural habitat mustn't be destroyed because you're trying to build or design, in it. Nature must be respected. Kenzo Tange was more, glassy, robust, almost a brutalist architect. And then there's also the late Zaha Hadid, who was absolutely brilliant with her deconstructivism. Her designs were out of this world. Her designs were the kind of designs that were never going to be accepted. But she was bold enough to put it out there, and now every everybody is designing like her. After she's gone, basically. So picking styles don't necessarily have to be difficult. The thing about engineering and architecture is that the architect designs, the engineer builds. So the design goes to the engineer, and the engineer knows exactly what to do. Now he comes back to the architect if it's not buildable. Same thing goes with your furniture design. Same thing goes with your interior design. If your three-seater can't go through the door, then you have two choices: change the size of the door or reduce the size of the three-seater. Something has to happen, but you must sit in that living room. Um, which is why we advise people take your tape measure with you when you go to buy your settees. Um, give it an extra inch on every side, so that you have the furniture gets into the house properly. Um, that's basically what it is. Those styles can be kept separate from the other, but we can pick out elements from every style, subdue some parts of it, celebrate other parts, and in a plain minimalist space, for instance, somewhere in Japan, if you saw a mask from China on the wall, an Oriental style in a minimalist space, it gives you something to talk about. It's a different thing altogether.
Mm.
If it's double volume and you have a Victorian chandelier or something, taking the entire space in that double volume, it gives you something else to talk about. So we can mix and match. The issue is how much mixing and matching are you allowed to do? When does it become clutter?
Mm.
And to whom is it clutter? That's what Uche is trying to address. And I believe it's a conversation that would never really have a clear definition. It's always going to go back to the end user. How does it make you feel? Paul, if I come to your house, would I want to come back? Considering I want to respect your clutter. Does your clutter make me uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that I don't want to come to your house? Or is my space so pristine that it makes you uncomfortable? You want a bit of life in the space. You don't want it to look like a morgue. Yeah. So there's somewhere in the middle that both styles would meet, and would draw from other influences to ensure that there strikes both a visual balance, the ambience is good, the feel is right, the ventilation is right. There are a lot of things that would add to the space, because it doesn't matter how beautifully designed your space is. If the temperature isn't right, then things start to feel bad. If ventilation isn't there, then you're asking yourself, okay, can we go outside and have a conversation as opposed to being in the room that you're supposed to be sat? So that's just what it is. You would have to draw from different influences and still make it right.
Brilliant stuff. Well, you're always welcome in my house, but I've got 2 young children, so it's a tip. But I own that. I own that clutter. It's mine. I pay for it. It's my clutter.
I wanted to just add
I can put things away in cupboards. They find their way back out onto the floor. It's just that's what children do. Ladies and gentlemen,
I wanted to just add something quickly to what Okechukwu just said. About coming right back to the end user. Mm-hmm. I work with decluttering and declutterers as well. So there are some instances where things become over sanitized, and then it loses the warmth. That's what he was talking about. When it now loses the warmth of the home, especially if it's a home. You don't want the home looking like you've put everything in file jackets and they're all, So even though I use, labeled containers in my cabinets, because I'm one of those people, I still like to see the odd box of Frosties or something. Throw in a little bit of color that says that this is a home that has a child in it or children or something. You still want to see that, because you're not the only person. If you over sanitize it, then it's now pristine. Then it's now cold. But you want a house that looks lived in, but picture perfect every time. And the only way to do that is when things have a space where they can go. Even if I am sat in the sitting room watching TV, I've got a little thing in the side where I throw the remote in there. It's second nature. That way I'm not going to have remote controls lying around the whole place. No. And if somebody comes in the dark and wants a remote control, they really don't need to turn on the light to reach for it. But it's there. There may be 6 or 7 remote controls doing different things, but there's a space for them. And then it removes it from being clutter into useful items that have been placed in a space. So at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to the user of the space.
Yeah, that's what those holders are there for. Remotes on one side, box of Frosties on the other. Your lounge is weird, but that's fine.
The box of Frosties are in the cupboard. Don't put me.
Well, you say that now, but I think you're just desperately back in the thing. I think you've got a box of Frosties literally on the couch.
Right beside the remote controls.
It makes a good snack. It makes a good snack.
It's just there. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Siblings in Design. We really appreciate your company. I tell you what, we'd appreciate an awful lot more are your comments and questions. So get typing. We've got about half an hour left. We are talking about declutter. We're talking about design. We're talking about architecture. For some reason, we're now talking about Frosties. We really can go in any direction that you like. Get involved in the conversation. Don't report on the football. We'll find out later. Julius didn't want any spoilers. So just don't ruin it for him. He's probably got an anyway. So it's fine. I'm not watching it over here. Now, Uche, Junior very kindly actually shared with us some of his architectural influences, where I found that absolutely fascinating. So from a design perspective, who are yours?
That would be, you have 2 days?
Yeah, actually I do. You've got about 20 minutes.
I'm what you call a very non-conformist designer. Non-conformist in the sense that, yes, as much as I love the pristine, as much as I love the feng shui, and as much as I love the Gothic era, it doesn't really come across in my designs or even in my home, because there are aspects of it, like Junior said earlier, that I pick. So I've picked so much from various eras that it's almost like recreating your own style. And this is what I encourage people to do when they design. When I do their designs, I try not to hold onto any of the how do I put it now, the gurus of design of the past or established ones, because sometimes you need to unlearn certain things to be able to find yourself. And the holistic nature of design does not even allow you to stereotype, because doing that is coming back to that thing which I am I try to push against, which is telling people this is how you do it. Who said so? Who told you you can't do it this way? Why, if I want my pillow to look like a shoe, why not? So I mean, at the end of the day, it's
weird.
I rather be, but that would be my choice. I mean, someone said something to me 2 days ago, and I said to her, I said, listen, you went into the stores, there were different racks all in the store, right? And you went to a particular one, you picked out this black top, and it's got frills on the neck, and it's got, no one told you to pick that, you chose it. But I'm sure they had white, blue, green, long, short sleeve, long, whatever. This was the one that resonated with you. So I am more interested in what resonates with the person. I could use the principles of design, the concepts, the sizes, measures, dimensions, textures, feel, color, and all of that to guide, but I would rather design for the person. So you're not walking into stereotypical homes where it's like, oh yeah, it looks like the other hotel. We're not designing hotels, you know what I mean? I don't want people, so that you don't walk into a space and say, I can tell so person has been here. Who did your house? Was it this person? Let it be your house. Oh, this is Paul's house. Oh, who helped you? Somebody must have helped you. Then you can mention, oh, well, it was Ucheju from the Wellbeing Cognoscente. Oh, really? And by the time you walk into 5 different places and they say the same person, like, okay, what's her style? I don't want you to have my style. I want your style to resonate in your home.
Right. So, that's very interesting. You drew a parallel there with buying clothes. And of course, someone might be thinking, okay, well, hold on a minute. If I go into a store, I can try an item on, I can look in the mirror, I can think, maybe, maybe not. And even sometimes I can take it home thinking it was okay. And then as soon as I look in the mirror and I get home, I think, no, and I go back. Not so easy when we're talking about designing a home. So how do people try things on before committing?
It's getting easier. That's what the 3D, that's what the 3-dimensional walkthroughs do for you.
Okay. Tell us more
about that. And these days, a lot of stores actually give you pieces where you can, if you take the photos online from the store, you can put it in your space to see how it looks. There are actually apps that do that now that we use in design. Yeah.
Okay. So you're using those a lot more now.
We're using that a lot more. Yeah.
Virtual reality as well, or is it more just looking in 2D? What do you think the future is of trying things on? Because I know certainly there's a particular show on TV at the moment where they do garden design, and they put on the VR headsets and they get to walk around their garden. Do you see that being the future from where you are?
That would be beautiful. So then you know that you can actually work for anybody wherever they are. That would be beautiful. And there are some companies that are building things like that. I know that with House, you can actually do virtual reality in any room and any space. They have an application that allows you to do that. And then there are other design apps that, are then there's House and there's so many others. I prefer to use the House one because it gives that flexibility to be able to work in. For instance, the project we just finished we're still doing the finishing touches, but we've done the structure, and it was there in the intro. there were some structural issues that we had to work around. And the client was a perfect someone that I had done work for before, and Okechukwu as well. So she was able to view firsthand what it was going to look like, what we were suggesting, the solutions that we were suggesting to provide for her. She was able to go in and do a walkthrough. I'm here in the UK. She's over there in Nigeria, and sharing my screen, walk her through the 3D. And it's like, no, go left. How does that look? Okay, well, I like this. Okay, no, can I have stairs here? Why don't we do sitting? Why can we do multi-level? Can we do and it turned out exactly the way she saw it in the walkthrough. And anywhere we met with resistance for, like the structure, because Okechukwu handled the structural part of it, we would immediately adjust. Right. So we envisaged that we would have 3 meters here. We're not getting 3 meters. What's the best thing to do? And that's when the structure and interiors come into play together, because then you're able to quickly on the spot take a decision and adjust, but keeping the integrity of the design at play. So that way the client comes in and is like, that's exactly what I saw. So that virtual reality, gives everybody an opportunity to ensure that what it is that you promised is what is being provided, and that you, the client, has seen it firsthand, and yes, you've approved it before you even start. Yeah.
So, Junie, what about your perspective in this use of more virtual technology? Obviously, this is a project you've been involved in as well. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I'm glad design in general now has the access to visual tech. When CAD, when CAD became the norm, it was mostly for exterior architectural design.
Yeah.
The way the building looks on the outside, the dimensions and all of that, the technical bit. And then other software, were developed, and it went into interior design as well. So you could nowadays actually take a picture of a particular settee of furniture or piece of furniture and find it in CAD and place it in an interior design format and share with your client. Like Uche said, you can have a walkthrough that's actually photorealistic, walkthrough, fly-through presentation. Now, I've been doing virtual presentations for a while because we started from the exterior, which is what most clients who are not really technical understand. They appreciate the 3D or the perspective or the artist's impression of the building by seeing it, in a virtual presentation. Gives them an idea of the type of doors, type of floor tiles, your ceiling design, lighting, the way the space would look at night, the way to look in the day, and general flow. So I think it's almost impossible today to be in design and not have virtual presentations.
Yeah.
I think you were trying to mention the fact that it's easier to take clothes back, but you really can't reverse, an interior design that has been done as easily as you can take your clothes back. You're right. I mean, we're speaking of heavier items, and with live projects and with managing projects or design projects, I always remind the clients, only two people know what is being designed, the designer and the client. So we're at liberty to make as many changes as possible. Nobody else is holding you to account. It's your design. It's your style. Now, like Uche mentioned, we started a project and ran into some unforeseens. Okay, but the concept is a concept. Where we thought we had 3 meters and ended up having 2. All we had to do was reduce, do a little Pythagoras theorem. If you had 3, 4, 5 before, go with 1, 2, 3. Okay, it still gives you the same shape on a smaller scale, and you can now compensate with heights. If you had a height of 60 cm before, you can now go with 45 cm. And it still gives you the same look, the same feel, of the same scale, and in the same space. In fact, sometimes what you thought would work with a particular dimension, when you get to the project, you realize that it's either too large or too small. You're at liberty. You're a designer. You're at liberty to make those changes, yourself. And you step back, have a look at it, and you step back, have a look at it, and it's fine, basically. So that's basically what that entails.
Okay. With the utilization of this virtual technology, I think what's wonderful about this is that the client can become so much more involved in the process rather than being presented with a fait accompli that says, right, there's your design, what do you think? They can actually be involved in much more steps. But my question is, has that made the overall cycle from beginning concept through to final development longer or shorter as a result? Now the client can actually get involved in so many more. What's happened as a result? Is it now, are they a bit more of a pain than they used to be, is what I'm asking you. Be honest.
No, it probably has made it longer, but to everybody's benefit.
Yep.
Okay.
Because what used to happen before? So just paint this picture. When we used to design and draw longhand, which is paper and ink, you do your drawings, take it to the client, and the client say, you know what, this is rubbish. Start all over again. Can you imagine the number of times you would do that to get the client to understand what you're doing, as opposed to going through the design process? Okay, so the building is going to look like this. There's, oh, I see. I like the look. Yep. Can we change the roof from a hipped roof to a flat roof? Can we use an L-shaped settee, as opposed to a normal standard 7-seater, separate 3-seater, 2-seater, and single-seater arrangements, and you throw on the L shape, and then you give him the other option, of the 7-seater arrangement, and he says, okay, looking at both of them, I think this works better. Now, at every stage, you have approval to move to the next stage, and that's what you seek. Now, these approval processes basically help you save time. You may think that design process is taking much longer, but see, what you're doing is that you're building the confidence and the comfort of your client in your ability to translate exactly what they expect to have.
Yep.
So at every point in time, the client goes to bed knowing that step 1 has been achieved, and he can visualize what he wants or what she wants or what they want in their family. And this happens with every single space.
Yeah.
The foyer, the guest toilet, the study, if there's one, the living room, the dining, the kitchen, the stores, the hallway, the staircase, the bedrooms, your terraces, your home theater, the gym, anything at all, every space.
And sometimes when people are thinking about something, and when they see it in living color, it doesn't strike the same way. So that process, even though it appears longer or a pain, it's always much better, because you don't have to get to the end of a project and have the client say, I don't like it.
Yeah. So in design cannot be isolated from project management.
Yeah.
Because design in itself is a project that has to be managed by the designer with the client in mind. And with project management, every single step requires approval and the authority to go to the next stage.
Yeah.
Mm.
So as much as possible, you want to go through that process and sign off to be able to move to the next step.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's a very, very interesting point that you raised there? Do you feel that as a result of having so much more input in the design process, that people are becoming much more aware of design now? They are much more aware of the choices out there, that by the time you even get started, they've got a much clearer understanding of what they want? Or is there still a situation whereby still people would say to you, Uche, it's got four walls, I don't know what to do, and you know you can actually help them there? Where would you say people are now on that spectrum in general for you?
A lot more people have become aware, and a lot more people are learning how to do their own mood boards, because that's what helps you to understand the concepts that they like, the color schemes that they like, and be able to provide them with one. I have a client now who is taking a new apartment house in Reading, and she did so well. I mean, I had to commend her. She sent me an e-document that we could both edit together with different styles from different eras, bedroom, sitting room, the types that she has seen that she likes. It's not necessarily going to translate to that in her own space, but we would work with the colors, the textures, the shapes, and the sizes. You know, tall headboards obviously is something that they like, because all the bedrooms that she selected had tall headboards. So that's one thing to put at the back of one's mind. So when I get into the design concept for her, I know to ensure that the bedrooms have tall headboards. Would they be fabric? Would they be leather? Would they be wood? Now that's a different concept to get, but that's what we're beginning to see. A lot more people are understanding how they can participate in their own design, and they're taking it on board. They're doing it.
Mm. And I think it's particularly interesting, using the sample of the headboards there. Some wouldn't necessarily think of that as being a design element, but clearly it's something that they like. They hadn't really thought about it. It's like, yeah, I guess I do like tall headboards. And it's, as you say, we're going to start with the person. We've got to take these little details and extrapolate from that to actually be able to say to people, you might not think of yourself as a designer, and by the way, you're not, otherwise I'm out of a job, but more importantly, you do have an input, you do have a say. I think a lot of people are still very, very scared when it comes to working with an interior designer, that you're going to come in there with your way of doing things to the point where people are going to walk around and go, I see you've had a new change you've done. And you think, you don't want that, which is wonderful, because let's face it, there is this stereotypical image of a lot of creative people who really do want to put their stamp on something to such a degree that you can't help but know that it was done by them. And what you're saying is that from your perspective, that good design comes from the person that's going to live in that house, the person that's going to occupy that space. You need to get inside their head. So even something as small as where they like to leave their Frosties, you'll have to watch this on catch up if that doesn't make any sense to you folks. These are the things you need to be aware of there. Now, speaking of catch up, because we've only got 5 minutes left, just to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you have not been watching this live, and by the way, I kept giving reference to the football, but football starts in a bit. It's not on yet. I
haven't started.
I don't know what Parish was on about before VAR. Maybe he was saying there's going to be VAR at this match, and previously there hadn't been. Junior, shed some light, or don't, it's fine. But just to say, folks, if you are watching this on catch up, as indeed so many of you will be, please don't think you shouldn't put your questions to us. Do put them in the comments. We'll find them on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook page, and we will answer them in the next show. We are here the third Sunday of every month, normally at 7 o'clock, unless there's something better on. Apparently that's our new policy, so whatever. If the BBC launch a new sitcom in Nigeria, maybe we'll be watching that. who's to say? But so sporting fixtures withstanding, we're here third Sunday of every month at 7 p.m. UK time. So with that in mind, please do send us your questions. We've got time for some closing thoughts. Junior, close with a thought.
I think my closing thought would be...
You hate when I do that, don't you? Because you think, I don't know, what do you want? What do you talk about?
No, it's fine. I mean, my closing thoughts would be for all who are concerned, we need to realize that your space is your space. No good designer would tell you otherwise and make you accept whatever the person wants, because the person is not going to be there. You will live in that space. You're going to use that space. Our job as designers is to develop what you are thinking and tell you tell you what you can't do, because it's just not right for you to do that, and come up with the minute details that end up making a difference in your space. That's basically what our job is. Everybody who requires a service is the designer. The design happens in your head first, and we just make it happen for you.
Yeah.
Love that. I think that's absolutely brilliant. For me, that's the biggest message I've taken away from today. I know we wanted to talk about clutter, but we've flowed in a very, very organic way to talk about the one fear that I think a lot of people have got when it comes to working with a designer. Is my home still going to feel like my home? Absolutely it is. Uche, round us out.
Well, yeah, to round up, I'll say let's all take a deep breath and have some fun with your space. It's not that deep, really. And everybody's house, everybody's home and office, with the hybrid, people are working from home these days, children running around, and you can make your home still look lived in and picture perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It all is in your head, and whatever is in there shows up on the outside, believe me. So let's look after what's in here by looking after what's out there. Sometimes the reverse helps. So that's my take home.
Love it. Thank you very much indeed. Now, of course, we wouldn't be doing a proper show service if we didn't give you some blatant self-promotion. So now people are thinking, I like these guys. How do I work with them? Uche, how do people find you? How do people get you to design their dream home?
You'll find us at the end of this segment. You will find the details of our social media platforms. Everything is on there. Just scan it from your screen and get all our details on there.
Okay, and your web address, if people are looking for you specifically, the Wellbeing Cognoscente.
It's the Wellbeing Cognoscente, yes.
.com.
.com.
Okay, if you're not trying to spell it, look in the top corner.
At the top of
Because you made it complicated, is all I'm saying. So the wellbeingcognoscente.com. And Junior, what about yourself? How do people find you?
Reinvent Design Studio. Reinvent Design Studio.
Reinvent Design Studio. Nice and simple. So yeah, the details are in the socials. And if you think about it, you can't really not know how to find you, because you wouldn't be watching this otherwise. It's your own. I know it might seem weird, but some people watch it somewhere else. But yeah, look at the Facebook page, look at the YouTube channel. Please do put your comments in as well, because otherwise they can find you. I'm not saying it's a scary thing, but why not? It's a good thing to do. Do you know what? That's it for another month of Siblings in Design, back at the same time as for Football Withstanding. So thank you very much indeed to both of you. It's been lovely to see you. My name is Paul J. Rose. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Oh, what's going on there? We want to do this.